Hi and welcome back to Tales Against Humanity, I don't work here lady. In today's episode, I don't work there Karen. Another wholesome, IDWHL story. I am not who you want me to be. Apparently I have the devil in me. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. I don't work there Karen. After I retired, I took a part-time job at a tool store, mostly to get the employee discount. This store was right next door to a popular farm and ranch supply store. There was a deep overhang in front of the stores, and the other store kept large bags of animal bedding and such beneath the overhang, but only on their side. One day, after my shift ended, I was hanging out in front of the store before bicycling home, talking on my phone. Karen pulls up in a nice SUV with a trailer, shoves a receipt in my face, and rudely demands I load a dozen bags of animal bedding for her. I tell her I do not work at the farm and ranch supply store, but will gladly call them to ask for help for her. Now, to be fair, the tool store and the supply store both had blue shirts, but each had the store names prominently embroidered on the front. The supply store employees were almost uncomfortably clean-cut, and I had rather longish hair and a huge mustache. She starts screaming, she is in a hurry, she is almost out of gas, I am wearing a blue shirt, yada yada yada. I politely point to the name on my shirt and again say I do not work for the supply store, and it is not my job to load their products. Again I offer to call them and ask for help for her. She storms off towards the front door to the supply store, yelling about how I should get a haircut, and she is going to get me fired. I said good luck with that, lady, which really pissed her off. Her SUV was idling rather roughly this whole time. Eventually, she comes back with one of the managers of the supply store, and an employee who loads the bags of animal bedding. The manager is trying to explain to her that, no, I do not work for them, and should not be loading their products. About this time, you guessed it, her SUV dies for lack of gas. She goes back inside, and I see her leave with a plastic gas can and start hoofing it to the gas station a couple blocks away. Meantime, her SUV is still switched on, and her dome light is getting dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. I guess someone could have shut the driver's door, but I sure didn't feel like doing it. Having nothing better to do, I stayed to watch the show I knew was about to unfold. After a good hour, she staggers back with the full 5-gallon can. I do not think I would have cared to carry it a couple blocks. It took her a while, but she finally figured out how to pour it into the SUV. As she was pouring it, she was screaming that this was all somehow my fault. Then she tries to start the SUV and of course, it will not turn over. Some kindly old man stops and asks if she needs a jump, and gets out his jumper cables. After a few minutes, the SUV turns over, but will not start. It seems it is one of those that needs a fuse removed, and the engine cranked for a while to pressurize the fuel injection lines after running out of gas. I try to tell her this, but she starts screaming at me again, and called me some rather uncomplimentary names. Fine, Karen, call AAA or a tow truck. I have used up my good deeds for the day. When a tow truck finally arrives, the driver hooks up his jumper cables, removes the fuse, and cranks the engine for a while. He replaces the fuse and starts it, to the accompaniment of huge clouds of smoke. He smells the gas can, and it seems she had bought diesel fuel instead of gasoline. He tells her he will need to tow the SUV, and it will need the entire fuel system flushed. She screams that I should pay for it, since it was still somehow my fault. With that, I headed for home on my bicycle, telling her have a nice day. Another wholesome, IDWHL story. Hello again, I have another story of me using my safety vest and charm as a means to do good to share with you all. If this is your first read, let me provide a little context. Context: I'm a 40-year-old man, currently mobility restricted. I either use a manual wheelchair or the motorized mobility aids that supermarkets/stores provide. I also am a voice actor, and years of experience and training has led me to create the English guy persona. Around here, Vancouver, Washington, USA, the implicit bias revolving around people formed the UK tends to be far more kind. I use a false English accent in order to avoid being mistreated, and as a bit of a coping mechanism with my anxiety. As for the safety vest, I wear the vest to keep from people hitting me while I'm in the wheelchair or scooters. The story. Some point over the last week, I'd taken a trip to Winco just up the road from me. I love this store, as my interactions there tend to be far more positive. Better prices too. I was really only in there for like 4 things, and I was just leaving the frozen food section, heading towards the front by way of the large display of bottled waters. There, I saw this frustrated woman. She wasn't too much older than me. Late 40s? 55 tops, I'm confident. She was struggling to get this 24-pack of bottled waters down. The issue wasn't her strength, or even leverage, it was that she was trying to grab one that had another package partially sitting on top of it. Trust me, these things can be heavy enough as it is. I asked if she'd like some help. She looked shy for but a moment, then sighed and bashfully asked, "Would you?" I gave her a line that is actual truth with me. It's how Mom and Grandmother raised me. Offered to help. So with her permission I moved the items around in her cart, and managed to get that thing in there without much issue. She thanked me so much, and I figured that'd be the end of it. Nope, but for good reasons. I was browsing the breads when she returned. She asked me if I knew where a certain type of burger sauce was. I blinked, as I'd never heard of burger sauce specifically. I told her though if she was looking for sauces for burgers or steaks, and she was heading into that aisle from the direction we were pointed, then she'd want to look to her left. I gestured with my hand at the appropriate height that they'd be at. She was impressed and walked off. She came back 2 more times looking for other things, not once asking if I worked there. I also didn't tell her I didn't, because she already gave that aura that she was embarrassed about having to ask for assistance as it was. I helped her, and she then moved off to a different aisle to handle her purchases. I went to the wide aisle as it is the easiest to maneuver in and out of while in a mobility aid. I chat briefly with one of the regular employees, and we catch one another up on current affairs. It was as I had finished bagging my groceries, and was wheeling towards the exit this lady approaches with one of the managers I'm quite friendly with. The lady pointed at me, but not in an accusing way, more to kindly indicate. There he is, that's the one. The lady proceeds to tell the manager how I exemplified customer service, how I took time to assist her, I was polite and friendly. She said I was knowledgeable and not once made her feel like she was an imposition. My manager friend flashes me a knowing smile, and I just smile back under my mask. When the lady finishes the compliments, she informs me that she wanted to be present when she gave me my kudos so she could witness my reaction. I thanked her, though did check my watch. I informed her I did have frozen food in my cart and I should be on my way. She very politely apologized and said she needed to go too. Once she left, the manager and I shared a laugh for a good minute. Not mocking her, just that this was such an interesting, good and wholesome thing. Like a reverse Karen. A Narak? So that's it. The whole story. I love to help, got to say. I am not who you want me to be. At one time in my life I worked concert/sporting event security for a building on a university campus. I didn't have a security guard uniform. As security here we wore a t-shirt with security across the back in bright yellow, and also on the front and each sleeve. I had to buy the shirt when I got it so it belonged to me, and when I quit I kept a couple of shirts. Cast, me Karen and store manager. This happened years ago, and I just thought of it reading another post about an off-duty security guard, and it popped into my mind. This happened around 4 or 5 years ago, so the conversations are paraphrased. I don't dress to impress anyone. I am the type to go out in whatever I have on at the time. It doesn't matter if it is ripped jeans and stained shirt. I go. If it is my jammies, I go. I went to the dollar store for some cheap price treats for myself, and as I am checking out all the sweets I feel a tap on my shoulder. I turned around to see who it was and there was Karen in all her careness. Where is whatever it was she was looking for? Sorry, I don't work here. I have no idea. And turned back to the sweet goodness I was there to get. All of a sudden, I feel talons digging into my shoulder just over my collarbone, and a banshee scream came from her. Don't lie to me, she screeched. I know you work here. It even says you are security on your shirt. I want your manager, and I will have your job. I dropped down in a squat and her talons dislodged from me, and I spun around to rip into this complete moron. When I turned, the manager was directly behind Karen and walking fast to get to where we are. Karen is still screeching incoherently, and just raised a fist at me about to swing when the manager got there and grabbed her arm so she couldn't swing. What is going on here? He asked. Your employee won't help me. I want him fired. He also slapped me and I want the police here so I can press charges. The manager laughed and said, I was just down the aisle, and that didn't happen. He does not work here, and I saw with my own eyes how you grabbed him. So now tell the truth. What happened? This time he looked at me. When I tried to speak, Karen kept trying to interrupt, but the manager told her to shut it every time. I explained what happened. The manager asked Karen why she would think I worked there. No, they didn't have a uniform per se, but they all wore an apron with the store name on it. Karen said, he does so work here. He is security. It says so on his shirt. I laughed a little too hard at that and looked at her and asked, how many dollar stores have you been in that has security? Even the manager had to hide a smile after that. Either stop bothering other customers and screaming, or you will have to leave. I can help you find what you want, but he does not work here. He then turned to me and asked if I wanted the police involved for the assault that took place. I decided not to because I had other things I had to do and didn't want to waste time on this BS. I finished my shopping and went to pay. At the tills, Karen pulls directly behind me with a half-full cart of random items as I stood with a basket of maybe 14 or 15 items. Hey! Can I go in front of you? I am kinda in a hurry. I couldn't believe she had the gall to ask that. I let out another huge laugh right in her face. Not a chance. I answered. I paid for my things and walked out. Just because a shirt has security on it does not mean the person wearing it works in the store they are in at the time. Especially a dollar store. I still don't understand the thoughts of a Karen and probably never will. Apparently I have the devil in me. So I went to my local bookstore and was in the manga section. A girl, maybe a few years younger than me, asked me if I could help her find Seiki K, and I told her that actually I highly doubt it because as far as I know there is no English version of the manga, and I doubt this store would carry a foreign language version of Seiki K. But I would still look around for her. After looking through the sections I thought it could be in TDS, I told her I don't think it's here, try another bookstore or look online. She thanked me and walked away. I didn't notice the lady next to me and she tapped my shoulder. Excuse me, could you help me find this Christian book? She smiled real big and I felt bad. Oh ma'am, I'm sorry, I don't work here. She looked confused and asked why I was helping that girl if I didn't. I explained I know a lot about manga and I could help here easily, plus I was already in the aisle. She snapped and yelled, "Are you scared?" I was shocked. Why lie about not working here? Are you afraid of helping Christians? Follow me, I'm getting your manager. She grabbed my arm and I yanked it away. I walked to the door all while she yelled, "The devil is inside of you." I just wanted to get another volume of Horimiya. I'm not even anti-Christian. I'm so confused why she automatically went to the assumption that I was. Anyways, sorry if this was anticlimactic, but I felt like sharing.